So many people come to me frustrated they're fasting, cutting calories, exercising harder than ever, and yet that stubborn belly fat simply won't shift. You see, the problem isn't lack of willpower. The problem is inflammation. When your body is inflamed, it's locked in survival mode. The hormones that should tell your body to burn fat, like insulin, cortisol, and thyroid, become disrupted. Your mitochondria, those tiny powerhouses that generate energy, slow down and stop burning fat efficiently. Instead, your body gets the signal to store fat, particularly around the organs, what we call visceral fat. Now, this is the fat that drives heart disease, diabetes, fatigue, and hormonal imbalance. It's also the fat that refuses to budge no matter how little you eat or how much you move. That's because inflammation keeps the body under constant stress, flooding it with cortisol and sugar from the liver, trapping you in a vicious cycle of energy crashes, cravings, and weight gain. Here's the truth: you cannot exercise or fast inflammation. The solution is not to starve the body, but to heal it. Food is your most powerful anti-inflammatory medicine. When you feed your body the right nutrients, you tell your mitochondria it's safe to burn fat again. You switch off the inflammatory fire, balance your blood sugar, calm cortisol, and naturally restore the body's ability to release stored fat. In this video, we're going to look at the best science-backed foods that reduce inflammation, stabilize energy, and flip your metabolism from storage mode into burn mode without deprivation, without hunger, and without damaging your hormones. Because the key to lasting fat loss is not restriction, it's healing your metabolism from the inside out. When people think about fat gain, they often blame overeating or not exercising enough. But what we now understand from decades of research is that the body doesn't store visceral fat simply because of excess calories. It does so as a direct response to inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation sends a biochemical signal that something in the system is wrong, and the body shifts from thriving to surviving. One of the survival strategies it uses is to stockpile energy around the vital organs, the liver, pancreas, and intestines, precisely where visceral fat builds up. When your cells are inflamed, they stop responding properly to insulin, the hormone that moves sugar from the bloodstream into the cells to be burned for fuel. It's like the lock on the cell door becomes jammed. The pancreas compensates by pumping out more insulin, but high insulin is a fat storage signal. It tells your body, store this energy, don't burn it. At the same time, inflammation elevates cortisol, your stress hormone. Cortisol's job is to provide quick energy in times of crisis, but when it stays high, it breaks down muscle tissue, raises blood sugar, and encourages fat storage, particularly deep in the abdomen. And there's another layer: oxidative stress. Inflammation produces free radicals, unstable molecules that damage mitochondria, the tiny engines in your cells responsible for burning fat and generating energy. When mitochondria are damaged, your metabolic rate drops, and your cells switch from burn mode to store mode. This is why so many people find that calorie restriction or exercise alone doesn't work. It's like pouring water on a fire that keeps reigniting because the gas line underneath is still leaking. Until you fix the root cause, the inflammation, the fat simply returns. A major driver of this inflammatory fire lies in the gut. Inside your intestines lives a vast ecosystem of microbes, the microbiome, which plays a crucial role in regulating immunity, hormones, and metabolism. When this balance is disrupted, a condition known as gut dysbiosis, the wrong bacteria begin to dominate. These harmful microbes release toxins, known as endotoxins, that can pass through a weakened gut lining into the bloodstream. This leaky gut effect is like opening the floodgates to inflammation throughout the body. Once endotoxins enter the circulation, the immune system mounts a response as if you're under constant attack. White blood cells release inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that ramp up inflammation even further. These cytokines interfere with insulin and thyroid function, reduce mitochondrial efficiency, and alter how fat is stored and burned. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. Inflammation damages the gut. The damaged gut fuels more inflammation, and your body continues to hold onto visceral fat as a protective mechanism. The irony is that the body thinks it's helping you. By storing visceral fat, it's trying to cushion and protect vital organs from toxic stress, but over time, that protection becomes poison, compressing organs, worsening insulin resistance, and driving fatigue, brain fog, and metabolic disease. So when someone says, I'm eating less but not losing weight, the answer isn't to eat even less. It's to remove the triggers of inflammation, the wrong foods, environmental toxins, chronic stress, and poor sleep, and to replace them with foods that calm and repair. Anti-inflammatory foods work at the cellular level to stop this biochemical chaos. They reduce oxidative stress, lower cortisol, improve insulin sensitivity, and nourish the gut lining. They signal to the body that it is safe to let go of stored energy. Once inflammation quiets down, the hormonal and metabolic machinery can function properly again. Fat burning becomes effortless because your mitochondria are no longer under attack. Before the body can release fat, it must first feel safe. And that safety comes from reducing inflammation. The right foods rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fats, polyphenols, and clean proteins act like water on the fire, restoring balance and switching your biology from storage to healing mode. Only then can true, sustainable fat loss begin. The most powerful medicine you'll ever use doesn't come from a pill or a clinic, it comes from your plate. Every single bite of food sends a message to your cells. It's either saying inflame and store fat, or heal and burn energy. This is why I always tell my patients food is not just fuel, it's information. The right foods literally reprogram your metabolism, calm inflammation, and tell your mitochondria to switch back on. Let's start with omega-3 fats, nature's built-in anti-inflammatory. Fatty fish like sardines, salmon, and mackerel are packed with EPA and DHA, essential fats that lower inflammatory cytokines such as TNF-alpha and IL-6. These molecules are the chemical messengers of inflammation, and when they are chronically elevated, fat burning grinds to a halt. Omega-3s directly improve cell membrane function, making cells more responsive to insulin and thyroid hormones. That means better blood sugar control, more stable energy, and less fat storage around the belly. Think of these healthy fats as the oil that keeps your metabolic engine running smoothly. Next, color is your cue. The more colorful your vegetables, the higher their antioxidant and phytonutrient content. Leafy greens, peppers, beets, carrots, and berries all contain polyphenols that quench oxidative stress, the sparks that keep inflammation alive. When you eat the rainbow, you're providing your body with thousands of plant compounds that switch off inflammatory genes and activate detox pathways. These antioxidants protect your mitochondria, allowing them to burn fat more efficiently. This is why people who eat a variety of plant colors often notice better energy, clearer skin, and sharper mental focus because their cells are literally communicating more clearly. Turmeric is another star in the anti-inflammatory toolkit. Its active compound, curcumin, has been shown in numerous studies to block NF-κB, a master switch that turns on inflammation in the body. Curcumin helps reduce joint pain, lower blood sugar, and improve liver detoxification. I often recommend pairing turmeric with a little black pepper and healthy fat, such as olive oil, to boost absorption. Think of turmeric as a molecular fire extinguisher that douses inflammation at its source. Olive oil deserves special mention because it's not just a healthy fat, it's an anti-inflammatory powerhouse. The polyphenol olecanthal in extra virgin olive oil acts in the body much like ibuprofen, reducing inflammation naturally but without side effects. Regular consumption of olive oil improves insulin sensitivity and supports cardiovascular health by protecting blood vessels from oxidative stress. It also helps stabilize cortisol levels, which prevents that chronic stress-driven fat storage around the abdomen. A drizzle of high-quality olive oil over salads or vegetables is one of the simplest ways to nourish your metabolism. Green tea is another remarkable metabolic ally. Rich in catechins, particularly egg, green tea boosts fat oxidation and supports mitochondrial function. It also enhances the liver's ability to metabolize toxins, lowering systemic inflammation. Studies show that regular green tea drinkers have lower markers of oxidative stress and better blood sugar control. If you're someone who relies on coffee for energy, swapping a cup or two for green tea can deliver a calmer, steadier source of vitality without the cortisol spikes. Garlic, humble as it seems, is one of the most potent natural medicines in your kitchen. It contains sulfur compounds like allicin that suppress inflammatory enzymes, lower blood pressure, and enhance immune function. Garlic also supports gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria and discouraging harmful ones. When the microbiome is balanced, the gut barrier stays intact, meaning fewer endotoxins leak into the bloodstream and less inflammation is triggered. And that brings us to one of the most overlooked categories, fermented foods. Sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, and unsweetened yogurt are teeming with probiotics, live microbes that restore the gut ecosystem. A healthy gut produces short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which calm the immune system and improve insulin sensitivity. When your gut microbes are balanced, inflammation drops, cravings subside, and energy stabilizes throughout the day. Of course, all this works only if you also remove the foods that cause inflammation in the first place. Processed seed oils like soybean, canola, and sunflower oil are rich in omega-6 fats that fuel inflammatory pathways. Refined carbohydrates, sugars, and processed grains spike insulin and cortisol, keeping the body locked in fat storage mode. Replace them with real, whole foods that your body recognizes, foods that grow, swim, or once lived in the wild. The principle is simple but profound. Your body is listening to every meal. When you choose nutrient-dense anti-inflammatory foods, you give your cells the message to repair, regenerate, and release stored fat. Over time, this way of eating doesn't just reduce inflammation, it rewires your metabolism, restores hormonal balance, and returns your body to its natural state of energy and leanness. At the center of nearly every stubborn fat problem lies what I call the metabolic triad: blood sugar, insulin, and cortisol. These three systems operate like a seesaw. When one is out of balance, the others follow. Chronic inflammation ties them together, creating a loop that keeps the body locked in fat storage mode. Once you understand this relationship, it becomes clear why simply eating less or exercising more rarely solves the problem. The issue isn't just calories, it's chemistry. Let's begin with blood sugar. Every time you eat, especially foods high in carbohydrates or sugar, your blood glucose rises. The pancreas releases insulin, whose job is to move that sugar into the cells to be burned for energy or stored as glycogen and fat. But when your diet is filled with refined carbs, breakfast cereals, breads, snacks, and sweet drinks, blood sugar spikes become constant. The body is flooded with insulin all day long. Over time, the cells stop responding properly. This is called insulin resistance. The sugar remains in the bloodstream, triggering inflammation, while the excess insulin signals the body to store more fat, particularly around the belly. This cycle doesn't just happen with food. Stress has the same biochemical effect. When you're under pressure emotionally, mentally, or physically, the adrenal glands release cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol raises blood sugar to prepare you for a fight or flight situation. It tells the liver to release stored glucose so you have quick energy to run from danger. But modern stress isn't a predator you can escape. Its emails, deadlines, noise, and poor sleep. The blood sugar stays high, insulin rises, and inflammation deepens. This is why I often say, chronic stress makes you metabolically diabetic even if you never touch sugar. Cortisol and insulin are partners in crime when it comes to fat storage. Cortisol's job is to conserve energy during perceived threat, while insulin's job is to store energy. Together, they tell your body, don't burn fat, hold onto it. This is particularly evident in visceral fat, which has more cortisol receptors than any other type of fat in the body. So, when cortisol is high for too long, belly fat accumulates and inflammation rises further. It becomes a closed circuit. Stress raises cortisol. Cortisol raises blood sugar, insulin rises to control it, and the resulting inflammation drives even more cortisol release. Now, this doesn't mean cortisol is bad. It's essential in short bursts, but when the system never switches off, when you skip meals, sleep poorly, rely on caffeine, and eat erratically, the body never gets a chance to reset. The mitochondria slow down, energy production falters, and the body clings to fat as an energy reserve. Fatigue sets in, mental clarity fades, and the more you push with willpower, the more your biology pushes back. The good news is that the same foods that lower inflammation also help stabilize this triad. When you eat balanced, anti-inflammatory meals rich in proteins, healthy fats, and fiber, you flatten those glucose spikes. The pancreas releases less insulin, and cortisol stays calm. The body feels safe, the mitochondria can function properly, and fat burning resumes. This is why breakfast choices matter so much. A low glycemic, protein rich breakfast, eggs, avocado, wild salmon, or a handful of nuts sets your blood sugar rhythm for the entire day. It prevents that mid-morning crash that sends you reaching for caffeine or sugar. Timing of meals also plays a role. Eating within a consistent window and avoiding late night snacking helps regulate both insulin and cortisol. When you give your digestive system a proper overnight rest, you allow insulin levels to drop, which signals your body to burn stored fat for energy. Even something as simple as finishing dinner by 7 p.m. can have profound effects on inflammation and fat metabolism. Reducing refined sugars and processed foods is non-negotiable. These foods keep the body inflamed and the blood sugar unstable. Replacing them with slowed, digesting carbohydrates, vegetables, berries, and moderate amounts of root crops keeps energy steady. Adding a drizzle of olive oil, a few walnuts, or a piece of oily fish slows the absorption of sugar even further, protecting you from insulin spikes. When blood sugar and cortisol are stable, your mitochondria can finally return to their true job, producing energy efficiently rather than reacting to stress. This is what healing looks like at the cellular level. The body no longer sees the world as a threat, and the signal to store fat turns off. Fat burning becomes effortless, sustained, and natural because your metabolism is calm and clear. The secret to lasting weight loss isn't in deprivation or endless cardio, it's in stabilizing your inner biochemistry. When you eat, rest, and live in a way that quiets inflammation, balances your hormones, and nourishes your mitochondria, the fat simply stops being needed. Your body stops protecting you with fat and starts energizing you with life. Around 70% of your immune system sits inside the gut. This means that most inflammation begins right there in the digestive tract. When the gut is healthy, it acts as a strong, intelligent barrier, absorbing nutrients while keeping toxins, bacteria, and waste products out of the bloodstream. But when that lining becomes damaged, what we call leaky gut, it allows microscopic particles, undigested proteins, bacterial fragments, and endotoxins to slip through into circulation. The immune system sees these as foreign invaders and mounts an attack. This reaction doesn't shut off easily. It creates a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that spreads throughout the body, including the brain, joints, and fat cells. This inflammatory storm interferes with every major metabolic process. The liver becomes overwhelmed trying to filter toxins, insulin sensitivity declines, and cortisol levels rise. Fat burning grinds to a halt because the body perceives itself as under threat. Instead of releasing stored energy, it holds onto visceral fat as a protective shield around vital organs. It's a biological misunderstanding. Your body is trying to help you survive a toxic load, but in doing so, it keeps you tired, bloated, and inflamed. When the gut is inflamed, it also disrupts the communication between the gut and the brain. The vagus nerve, that vital communication line, becomes less responsive, and the hormones that control hunger and satiety fall out of sync. Ghrelin, the hormone that tells you when to eat, becomes overstimulated, while leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, stops being heard. The result is constant cravings, even when the body has enough energy stored as fat. Until the gut is healed, the appetite remains dysregulated, and fat loss becomes an uphill battle. The encouraging news is that the gut can regenerate astonishingly fast when given the right tools. Every cell in the gut lining can renew itself within days. The key is to remove the irritants and feed the cells what they need to rebuild. Bone broth is one of the most effective gut healing foods because it provides amino acids like glutamine, glycine, and proline, the raw materials your intestinal cells use to repair themselves. These nutrients also help tighten the junctions between cells, reducing leakiness and preventing toxins from slipping through. Fermented vegetables such as sauerkraut, kimchi, and kefir are equally important. They're rich in probiotics, beneficial bacteria that restore balance to the microbiome. A diverse gut microbiome acts as a natural anti-inflammatory system. It trains the immune system to respond appropriately rather than overreact. Certain bacterial strains even produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which nourish the gut lining and signal the body to reduce inflammation. The presence of these beneficial microbes also crowds out harmful bacteria that release endotoxins, further lowering inflammatory load. Fiber-rich greens and vegetables play another critical role. They act as prebiotics food for the good bacteria. Think of them as fertilizer for your internal garden. Leafy greens, asparagus, leeks, and artichokes feed the microbes that keep the gut barrier strong. Fiber also slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps remove toxins through regular bowel movements. This natural detoxification is essential for keeping the inflammatory cycle from restarting. When the gut flora is balanced and elimination is smooth, the immune system finally gets a rest. Healing the gut doesn't just quiet inflammation, it restores communication across your entire metabolic network. When endotoxins stop leaking into the bloodstream, the liver and thyroid can perform more efficiently. Cortisol drops, insulin sensitivity improves, and the mitochondria switch back to energy production mode. People often report clearer thinking, steadier mood, and deeper sleep, all signs that the nervous and immune systems are finally back in harmony. With inflammation calmed at its source, fat metabolism reignites naturally. The body no longer feels threatened, so it releases stored fat for energy. Appetite hormones normalize. You eat when you're truly hungry and stop when you're satisfied. The cravings for sugar or processed foods begin to fade because your gut bacteria are no longer demanding them. It's not willpower, it's biology working the way it should. Long-term fat loss, especially around the belly, depends on this foundation of gut repair. You cannot heal metabolism without healing the gut first. When your digestive system is intact, your immune system settles, your hormones realign, and your energy becomes consistent. The gut truly is the command center of the body. Repair it, and everything else from inflammation to fat burning falls back into place. When the body is inflamed, every cell becomes less efficient at producing energy. The mitochondria, those tiny power stations within your cells, are the first to suffer. They're responsible for creating ATP, the currency of energy that drives every biological function, from thinking and breathing to burning fat. When inflammation rises, the mitochondria become clogged and damaged by oxidative stress. They can't efficiently turn nutrients into energy, and instead of producing clean fuel, they begin to leak free radicals, worsening the inflammatory loop. The result is fatigue, sluggish metabolism, and the frustrating inability to lose weight no matter how disciplined you are. The key to reigniting fat burning is not to punish the body with restriction, but to nourish it so the mitochondria can recover. When inflammation is lowered, the mitochondrial membranes stabilize, oxygen delivery improves, and ATP production rises. This increase in energy output signals to the body that it's safe to shift from fat storage to fat burning. Essentially, a well-nourished, low-inflammation body becomes metabolically flexible, able to draw energy from fat stores effortlessly, even between meals. Anti-inflammatory nutrition is the foundation of this repair process. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, such as sardines, salmon, and mackerel, restore fluidity to the cell membranes, allowing for more efficient communication between hormones and receptors. Omega-3s also reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines, directly protecting mitochondrial structures from oxidative damage. This means your cells can once again respond properly to insulin, thyroid hormones, and leptin, all of which are essential for efficient fat metabolism. Magnesium plays a quiet but essential role in this process. It's required for over 300 biochemical reactions, many of which take place inside the mitochondria. Without enough magnesium, ATP cannot be produced efficiently. Unfortunately, chronic inflammation, stress, and processed foods deplete magnesium reserves, leaving cells starved of this crucial mineral. Restoring magnesium through leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and mineral-rich water helps switch your metabolism back on. It's like turning the lights back on in a power plant that had been running in the dark. Antioxidants are another vital piece of the puzzle. When inflammation damages mitochondria, antioxidants from foods like berries, green tea, and turmeric come to the rescue. They neutralize free radicals, preventing further oxidative damage. Phytonutrients found in colorful vegetables and herbs also activate internal antioxidant systems like glutathione and superoxide, dismutase the body's built-in defense against inflammation. When these systems are active, the mitochondria can repair and resume normal energy production, freeing your body from the constant need to store fat as backup fuel. Protein intake is equally crucial in this restoration process. Adequate protein provides amino acids that repair tissues, build enzymes, and support detoxification. In particular, amino acids like cysteine, glycine, and glutamine support mitochondrial renewal and gut healing. When you combine clean protein sources with anti-inflammatory fats and low-glycemic vegetables, you stabilize blood sugar and prevent the insulin spikes that would otherwise keep you in fat storage mode. This balance of macronutrients is what keeps the metabolism steady and sustainable. Intermittent fasting complements this approach beautifully, but only when the foundation of nourishment is in place. Fasting lowers insulin, gives mitochondria a rest, and triggers autophagy, the body's cellular cleanup process. However, fasting on top of an inflamed, nutrient-deficient body only adds stress. This is why I often say you cannot outfast inflammation. The goal isn't to starve the body, but to heal it first through nutrient density, then use fasting strategically to enhance repair. Once inflammation is under control, fasting becomes a powerful amplifier of mitochondrial renewal and fat burning. The synergy of omega-3s, antioxidants, magnesium, and phytonutrients creates a biochemical environment where the fat-burning switch turns back on. Cortisol normalizes, insulin sensitivity improves, and the thyroid, your metabolic thermostat, begins to function optimally again. As inflammation recedes, the cells become more responsive, hormones communicate effectively, and mitochondria produce energy cleanly. You feel lighter, clearer, and more energetic because your biology is working with you, not against you. Healing inflammation is not just about losing fat, it's about reclaiming metabolic intelligence. Once the mitochondria are restored, your body naturally prefers to burn fat as its primary energy source. You no longer rely on constant snacking or sugar hits to get through the day because your cells are generating steady energy from within. The body transitions from chaos to coherence, from inflammation to regeneration. You cannot outfast inflammation, you must nourish your body to heal and burn fat efficiently. Only then does true metabolic freedom begin. Now that we've explored how inflammation blocks fat burning and how food can reverse that process, it's time to put the science into action. Healing isn't complicated when you follow the body's natural rhythm. The next 7 days are about sending your biology one clear message. It's safe to heal, to burn, and to thrive. Think of this as a reset, a week to calm inflammation, stabilize your blood sugar, and reawaken your mitochondria. Start each morning with hydration before anything else. A tall glass of mineral, rich water with a pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon primes your digestion and replenishes electrolytes lost overnight. Then step outside for 10 minutes of natural sunlight. Morning light synchronizes your circadian rhythm, helps regulate cortisol, and improves sleep quality at night, one of the most overlooked fat burning tools of all. For breakfast, focus on protein and fat, not sugar. A simple meal might be scrambled eggs cooked in olive oil, a handful of leafy greens, and half an avocado. This combination keeps blood sugar steady and cortisol balanced throughout the morning. If you prefer a lighter start, a protein smoothie with collagen, coconut milk, and a few berries works beautifully. Avoid cereal, toast, or juice. These spike insulin and reignite inflammation before the day even begins. Lunch should focus on nutrient density. Think wild, caught salmon or sardines with a large mixed salad of colorful vegetables, peppers, rocket, spinach, and beetroot drizzled with extra virgin olive oil and sprinkled with seeds. These foods are anti-inflammatory by design. Omega-3 fats, antioxidants, and phytonutrients work together to reduce oxidative stress and support mitochondrial repair. Add fermented vegetables on the side, such as sauerkraut or kimchi, to feed your gut microbes and enhance digestion. Dinner is where you consolidate the healing process. Choose grass-fed meat, organic chicken, or plant-based protein with steamed or roasted vegetables and a small portion of root vegetables like sweet potato or parsnip. Finish with a cup of herbal tea, chamomile, or ginger to calm the nervous system and prepare the body for restorative sleep. The goal is to finish eating at least 3 hours before bed. This allows insulin levels to drop, encouraging overnight fat burning and cellular repair. Between meals, sip water or green tea to stay hydrated. Hunger between meals usually signals dehydration or unstable blood sugar rather than a real need for food. If you need a snack, choose something rich in healthy fats and fiber, such as a handful of walnuts, celery with almond butter, or a boiled egg. These keep you satisfied without raising insulin. Throughout the week, prioritize anti-inflammatory ingredients that feed the gut and mitochondria simultaneously. Use herbs and spices like turmeric, garlic, rosemary, and oregano liberally. They are natural antioxidants and antimicrobial agents. Replace refined oils with cold-pressed olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil. Cut out processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and artificial sweeteners completely. They fuel the very inflammation that blocks fat metabolism. Beyond food, lifestyle habits amplify healing. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of deep sleep each night. That's when growth hormone surges and fat metabolism peaks. Keep your bedroom cool and dark and avoid screens an hour before bed. Gentle evening stretching or breathing exercises help lower cortisol. During the day, move often short walks after meals lower blood sugar and enhance digestion. A 20-minute stroll after lunch or dinner is more powerful for fat loss than hours of high-intensity exercise done in a stressed state. Stress management is another cornerstone. Chronic emotional stress triggers cortisol spikes that undo even the best diet. Simple grounding practices, meditation, journaling, gratitude, or just time in nature help quiet the nervous system and keep the body in repair mode rather than survival mode. When you calm your mind, you calm inflammation. By day 7, you'll likely notice reduced bloating, steadier energy, and a sense of lightness. These aren't temporary changes, they're signs that inflammation is subsiding, hormones are balancing, and mitochondria are awakening. Continue eating this way, and fat loss becomes a natural byproduct of healing rather than a battle of willpower. When you eat to heal, fat loss follows effortlessly. Inflammation is the real weight loss blocker, not calories or lack of discipline. Food is the medicine that reprograms your metabolism from chaos to clarity. Once you give your body the nutrients it recognizes and remove the irritants it fears, it will respond exactly as nature intended by burning fat, restoring energy, and rebuilding health from the inside out.